It's not just making things faster, it's sidestepping a whole part of the adoption curve that is true of other technology. Like there's not going to be 15, 20 years of slow adoption of AI. It's happening in a couple of years.
The AI
Yeah.
can make the spreadsheet faster. And so what does
Yeah.
this do? Well, it makes you step back and realize, damn, I'm not the spreadsheet guy anymore.
Yeah.
We aren't a team of spreadsheeters. So what we are is we have to sit there and we actually have to understand that all we really have is our creativity.
You can replace your whole marketing team of 50 with a team of 2. AI can be the big Leviathan. It doesn't have to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bionic Marketing Podcast. I'm here with Sam Woods, and we're going to talk to you about the fact that the Terminator is here, Skynet is here, and we must prepare for what is coming around the corner. So, Sam has been a busy little bee recently, and he's been going into various companies around the world, probably around America, and he has been helping CEOs and teams and people running companies to deal with this new technology, because this new technology is having an enormous effect on the economy. The rumbles are starting to show up, but people actually aren't even aware of what's happening. And so I think it's fascinating to talk to an operator like Sam as opposed to a hype guru or something like this, an actual operator like Sam, seeing what's going on at the inside. So Sam, how are you today? And maybe if you'd want to dive in and tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you recently.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's been, even though the hype cycle has slowed down and a lot of people have sworn off AI and saying that it's not good enough and it's not this, that, the other thing, the work that I do continues and is only speeding up, probably because I'm dealing with the reality of it, right? And so the work that I do with clients touches on large language models, machine learning, all that stuff that produces real value inside a company. And what I'm seeing is very much different from the online hype, right? Like it's funny to be in both worlds. Like I see the online hype and what we just had the past 6 months, and then I see the real world and how machine learning and AI is being integrated into anything, really, most things, marketing, sales, and operations, and is only speeding up. So it's an interesting place to be in between those two worlds for sure.
That's very interesting because it reminds me, I always bring up the crypto analogy because they're two innovative
Mm.
techs, but they're two innovative pieces of tech. But one thing I noticed during crypto is that I actually knew quite a lot of like coders and people who were very deep into big projects. And they would
Yeah.
always come up to me and talk to me about the problems. And it was very fascinating that like they were coming up against the hard problems. Like they were like,
Yeah.
regulation is coming, and that's very
Yeah.
serious. And at the meantime, people would be like, crypto is going to change the world. We're going to take down the government. And
Yeah.
when you'd hear these guys
Yeah.
who are building the thing, and then you'd hear this, you're like, there's a bit of a incongruency here. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you're obviously coming up against the same thing. And this reminds me also of a second thing that I've noticed quite a lot that you have already said is that the maturation comes, and specifically
Mm.
how people think about these things is so important. So a lot of people have this sort of casual binary approach, like, crypto doesn't work because you're not buying a
Right.
McDonald's with it. But the
Right.
reality is that it's gradients. So AI isn't
Yeah.
making full Hollywood movies yet. And it's like, well, wait a second. If AI can make you 20% faster at making a YouTube video, that is actually an efficiency that is significant enough for you to take it seriously. And that's what I see a lot of the smart people who have actually executed in this now is they're talking about percentages of efficiencies increasing. Oh, this is 30%,
Yeah.
50% faster, and maybe more accurate as well and stuff like that. So do you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And that compounds, right? And so uh, it's people thought, and a lot of people still think that all these AI tools will kind of even the playing field. Like all of a sudden, a good video editor or a good writer and a bad video editor, they will all have the same tools, right? And so they thought, well, okay, cool. So it's just going to even the playing field, and we're not seeing that. That's not what's happening. What is happening in real life is that people who are able to quickly adapt and then take on these tools and figure out how to use them, they're the ones who are seeing that 20, 30, 50% increase in productivity. They're the ones who are just leaping ahead. And other people are still struggling or they're in denial, right? So if they're struggling, is because they're whatever they might be using, ChatGPT or something else. Like they're playing around with it. They're not sure exactly how to use it. And so they try it for a few days, but if it doesn't produce instantly like phenomenal results, they just write it off, right? They just don't care all of a sudden. And then they declare it dead, right? They go on Facebook or Twitter or X and say it's all dead, it's all like hype, this thing is not ready. And same thing with like agent GPTs. Everyone's like, oh, agent GPTs aren't going to do anything. It's all hype. Like they don't work. They're clunky. This, that, the other thing. What people don't understand is that they've seen us go from 0 to 1, which is the hardest thing to do. Now that we're at 1, going from 1 to 10 is not easy, but it's easier than going from 0 to 1. And so the people are struggling. They don't have the right expectations. They don't have maybe the right experience. They're not fast enough to maybe figure things out. And that's, it's individual how fast or not you can adopt something. But then you have the deniers, right? Like they're just like, this will never change a thing. Like we're just going to see people use it on the side in their jobs, and it'll never become, the thing that'll do the work for them. But what I see on the ground is that it's not leveling the playing field. It's making some people advance like super fast and just leap ahead, because they're not going in thinking that, oh, I click one button and then I'll have all my marketing materials done or a whole Hollywood movie done. They go, what am I doing? How am I doing it? Where does it make sense for these tools, AI and machine learning tools, to come in and become part of the process? Those people are able to advance. And if they're at 20% now increase, give it a year or 6 months, and they'll be not just ahead of the changes that are coming, but they'll operate at like double the speed. They'll be at 100% faster than what they used to be.
Yeah, the compounding, as you pointed out, and even that idea of 0 to 1. I remember this my experience, because I basically, like, I remember meeting you first, and I had like Malta, the artist I work with, and he was telling me about AI, and we were using it just as it came out, and it was like very bad. It was like squiggles on a screen mid-journey back then. But now, now it's like it's photorealistic. And the problem we have now is that we're trying to get it to work with video. We've gotten so far with the images that we're like, images are here, so now can we get it to video? And so everyone's saying, well, it's not good enough of video yet. And it's like, bro, I remember August 2022, and it's like, pictures were bad, but look at them now. Now, where's video going to be in 12 months? We'll talk about that. And 12 months is not a long time in the scheme of things. So it's very, you bring up so many fascinating, sorry, go on. Do you want to say something?
No, I was going to say 12 months is nothing. I think especially in the world of AI, it's and you have people who say, oh, this always happens with any new technology, right? Like there's an adoption curve, and then you all of a sudden things happen faster and so on. And then they say, well, things won't happen fast because people take a long time to adapt and adopt. This is different. This is not the same. Like it's the same in that it is revolutionary and just like a complete change of paradigm and how you do work or think about work. But it's not the same in the sense that, like, when the car came along, you have to go buy a car, you have to learn how to drive it, and then you drive it, right? So it took time for the technology to spread throughout society. Now you have trucks going long haul and all that stuff, right? So tech always has, up until now, always taken a while to spread throughout the rest of society. AI is not taking a while to spread through the rest of society. Like it's being integrated into everything. And anything you're doing that touches a computer or tech, AI is being put into it. You don't even have to go like buy a car. You'll open up Microsoft Word and it's going to be there. It's already there, but it's going to be there even more. You're going to do anything on a computer and it's just going to be there. You don't have to go find it, seek it, and then bring it to you. It's coming to you. And so it's not just making things faster, it's sidestepping a whole part of the adoption curve that is true of other technology. It's like, it's just sidestepping it. Like there's not going to be 20 years of slow adoption of AI. It's happening in a couple of years. And so 12 months from now, 12 months from now, we will see full-fledged, fully produced Hollywood-style movies that you can't tell looking at it that is made with AI. It's the tech is here already. You can do this now. It's just being perfected. And so it's not going from 0 to 1 anymore. It's going from 1 to 100. And that's the key difference. Anyway.
It's it's a really good point because like as a practitioner as well, I do it more in the visual arts field. I see
Yeah.
this exact phenomenon appear. Like I know video is at one right now, but it's so funny. Like I'm just sort of like, all right, sweet. So it's here, and I'm just going to wait, and I'm actually right now. I'm putting in the reps to learn the processes, so that when 10 comes, when it's able to make the more advanced films, I'll have actually all the skill sets in place to actually utilize that. And then when the really cool films show up, people will come back in, and then I'll be ahead of them, and they'll be trying to climb back on board after they abandoned the ship there like a year ago. And that's the really big issue. So it's so fascinating to see so many motifs you're always bringing up, like the law of inequality, the fact that like people's psychology is one of the biggest issues here. It's so fascinating to see these things.
People are resistant, they deny it, they downplay it, they think, oh, this is not a big deal. And all of those things is there. We are our own worst enemies. Like the people who deny and dismiss are the ones who are going to have a hard time adapting to everything because they're pushing it away. They're keeping it at arm's length, right? And the people who go, oh, this is cool, I'll try it, and they'll explore and they'll figure things out as they go. They're the ones who are gaining an advantage because someone who has, let's say, a year or even 6 months of hands-on experience using AI tools is going to be much more effective, proficient, and also able to navigate whatever changes are coming down the pike. Right? Whatever is going to change next year or so on, they're going to be better prepared to do something with it and to make something with all these tools that pertains to their job than someone who's always keeping it at arm's length and who's denying it and dismissing it. Like those people are going to have a hard time with all the changes that are coming. So it's better if you jump in and learn how to use it and get familiar, because the world that's going to be here a year from now, even, it's not going to be the same as it is now.
And again, I see this constantly in the people who are successful. Actually, among copywriters, I know a few of them, and I've been speaking to them, and I very much see the exact psychological mindset you're pointing out, which is fascinating because here we're having a discussion about people and how people react to things. And so there's like these avatars. And I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of copywriters, the hype gurus on Twitter, and they're like, they try Chappy GPT and there's like, this is crap and this doesn't work. So there's this binary thinking. It's not perfect. It's not real. And then there's these other guys who had this different style of thinking that you speak about an awful lot. And I've learned to actually understand as the crucial way of thinking, which is it's like process oriented thinking. If you speak to a CEO, he doesn't do any work. He thinks about how all his staff members do a process to make it work. Henry Ford stands and he thinks about his factory and how all the pieces of the car get put together in order to get. So he thinks about processes. And you, if you have the subtlety, the nuance to understand it's a process, and you begin to work on generating a better process and using the machines. As the machines get better, your process immediately gets faster because you're thinking about what you're doing the right way, and the other people don't, and so therefore they stay as slow as they currently are. And it's fascinating to see that.
And also just the vision to understand how they should make, what changes they should make in their company, in their product line, and investments they make. You can't theorize your way into using AI. Like you can't think about it enough. There's no way to just think your way to using AI and understanding it. And so the people who are actually, and this is how it's ironic because AI is such a high-tech, abstract thing, but the only way to get good at it is to use it in a tactile way. Yeah. Fingers on a keyboard, hand on a mouse, or gestures or whatever it is, and engaging with it, trying things, experimenting, having things fail, having things work, figuring out the errors, figuring out the code or whatever it is, the process that works. So it's, I've said this before, but it's the plot twist of the millennia or the century, where the only way to make AI useful is for you to become more human, as in you need to engage with it, make use of it, talk to other people who are using it, be a part of groups or whatever it is that are actively working on things. And it blows my mind every time I think about it, and every time I realize it, is like, it used to be with the information economy and the knowledge workers that we have had now for the past, whatever, 50, 60, maybe the past 100 years. It used to be that you could abstractly deal with knowledge and you could think through it. You could manipulate numbers on a spreadsheet, or you can type things on a computer. this is different because the only way to make something happen with AI is to actually use it. You have to not like you have to go beyond being a knowledge worker. Like being a knowledge worker is not good enough because AI is a better knowledge worker than you'll ever be. It can understand more information, it can consume it, think about it, use it much better, much faster than you'll ever be able to use it. Like right now, you have models, large language models, and other types of models being trained just by watching video. Like they're consuming video, and they learn how to do things in the real world. They learn how to drive. Like there are, I forget where I saw this video, but there are self-driving cars now that are being trained to drive by watching video of people driving and car videos of driving down the street. You don't even have to like. Do you see how insane that is? It's watching video and then learns how to do things. So YouTube is probably going to be one of the most valuable companies in the history of the world because they have all this video that they can direct to train models on cooking. All you have to do now is show a model videos of people cooking and all the recipes, and it'll know it. Anything, making anything, carpentry, like show a video, and then eventually you'll have a robot hammering things and cutting things in. So do you see, like it's a different, you have to shift your mindset from, oh, it's about knowledge and about information. No, it's not. It's a different world altogether. Like the world of and the age of information is gone. What they're realizing is that these models don't become better the more information you give it. The quality of information you give it determines how good the model is.
Wow.
So if you take a model and only train it on textbooks, like school textbooks on whatever, science and everything else, and it's a small data set, that model will be better and more accurate on science than GPT-4 is, because GPT-4 has been trained on everything there is to be trained on, right?
Wow.
So more narrow focus. And for you to even know what to train a model on or fine-tune a model on or do with inside your company, you have to take a step back. This is the work that CEOs now have to do. And any entrepreneur, any online entrepreneur, and even a freelancer, it's not about the amount of knowledge or information. It is about picking out the right knowledge and information. And for that to happen, you need to have wisdom. You need to have perspective. You need to have discernment. You need to have a sense of taste. I've been trying to say this for years now, and most people just like dismiss me because it sounds corny and weird and like, you know, what do you mean wisdom? But I keep trying to tell you, I keep trying to tell everyone, the only thing that's going to matter, it's the only thing that matters now, but it's only going to matter more in the next 12 to 18 months, is your sense of taste, perspective, discernment, wisdom, judgment, because you're going to have to make a call as to what you're going to do with these tools and what data you're going to use and the quality of the data. And when AI can make any voice and you have 100 different voice samples, how do you decide which voice to pick? How do you look at the stuff that it makes? If I can have 100 ads made in seconds, how do I decide which ads to run? It doesn't make sense to run all 100, but it makes sense to run 30. So which 30? Well, I need to have judgment to make that call.
This is so prescient and relevant because it's just very funny for me because I was talking with a group of guys about making an animation series of some sort. And of course, the first step was we talked about it, and they hadn't used AI before. And I was sort of saying to them, right, guys, the first step is we have to actually try to see what styles these models can generate and which styles we want. And so it was a question of sitting down and thinking. And it was kind of like confusing it took them like a while to actually get what I was saying. It's like, well, do you realize that we have this infinite abundant potential to produce any style we want? So actually it's pretty important for us to start this project to decide which is the right style, because if we can't change it halfway through. And they're like, oh fuck, excuse my French, but it was that was the situation. It was that discernment thing, and it's one of those things, because you've been saying this. Another gentleman we work with was saying to myself and Sam recently that it kind of clicked with him. He was like, oh my god, I actually understand this idea Sam's on about. And it's showing up in a very tactile way, that like your ability, all you have is your ability to decide. All you have is discernment and judgment, you know, because the machine can take all the rest off you, you know, and it's your just ability to call through things. So it's very fascinating to see that go on. Do you have any thoughts on that before I ask you? I have a load of questions I'll ask you.
Yeah, eventually we will get to the point where AI can mimic discernment and wisdom enough,
Oh, dude,
where now the question becomes, now what? So if you run the line, if you run this all the way to the end, right? You think about this all the way to the end, and you run this through. We're going to get to the point where the only choice left will be how much access and power do we give AI? And this is a choice that you will have to make personally. It's a choice that a company will have to make if you're have a business, and it's a choice that countries will have to make, because you can have it do anything, and you can give it infinite access and control over your life, over what you do, but you have to decide where you draw the line. And that's going to be the hardest choice for people to make, not just like for their own life, but also for a company they may have and run as an owner, or a company they have that they are part of. Because you can replace your whole marketing team of 50 with a team of 2, and they can produce the same amount of marketing materials. Now, if you're the business owner, does that mean you're going to do that? Does it mean that the right choice then is to have 2 people do the work of 50 and fire the other 48? That's the choice you're going to have to make soon in any area of your life. How much access and control do you give AI and machine learning? And that's the hardest choice you'll ever make.
So this brings us on to a major topic that I want to talk to you about, which is your direct experience of working with companies and CEOs and people running extremely large operations in America.
Yeah.
You're saying that an awful lot of them are sort of, it's like the house is on fire. They're really struggling to figure out exactly what this thing is. They're trying to take massive action because, CEOs tend to be biased, action orientated people. So they're sort of like, okay, let's get on board with this thing fast. And then they don't quite know exactly how to do this. They're trying to onboard their entire staff. They're worried that their competitors are going to outcompete them. And they're always like, they're like, what's going on? Is that other company going to beat me? So what has been your experience with this, and how it relates to many of these big decisions that need to be made?
Yeah, I've been doing this for several years now, training teams and working with companies, and either consulting with them, training them, or helping them integrate. And part of this is self-imposed, and part of it is just people seeing what their competitors are doing. And so they know that their competitors are one way or another bringing AI into the mix. And so they go, oh crap, we need to hurry up. We need to get this going. We need to get stuff integrated. We need to have our team trained. We need to get everyone on board and, run the race and get going. And then they do, but then they meet resistance, right? Some team members refuse to learn how to do things, and then others are resistant, and then others take it on and are willing to do whatever it takes to get up to speed and to do things. All this time, they're all stressed and worried about their competitors doing the same and getting ahead of the game and doing beating them in terms of going to market, making sales, and all that stuff. And so it's a mixed bag in all these organizations. You have, like I said, people are either thrilled about it or terrified, or a mixture of both. And the companies that are struggling are the ones who have most of their team members in any given team resisting, right? And I get it. It's a huge change, and people feel threatened. They worry that their jobs will be eliminated. Then they wonder what they'll do, and then wonder how they'll make money and support their families. So it's a tough environment in that regard, because everyone is scrambling. And the companies that are doing well are the ones who have team members jump all in and go all in and figure it out and learn how to do things and learn how to integrate these tools. But it's tricky. You're dealing with people who are, people who have a hard time already. Like, a lot of people hate their jobs, but then their job is threatened to be taken away, and then now they want their job, right? So it's you see the whole spectrum of human emotion and reactions to this, and it's hard to navigate. It's hard to know what to do. And I think people will see that the economy is already tricky as it is, right? And probably anywhere in the world right now, it's just inflation and just things are through the roof, and supply chain issues and all this stuff. So it's already a tough economic environment to begin with. And I think companies will start to go, you know what? Our team of 50 marketers, turns out we only need 15 of them, and they're going to have to decide what to do with the other 35. And I'm glad I'm not deciding for them on what they should do, because it's hard. It's tricky.
And do you see that coming, like basically an evolutionary bottleneck in some sense? And maybe like we'll say it's sort of timely for our era. It's like maybe a recession is coming, and that's going to force the hand of a lot of these CEOs, or maybe it's going to give them a good mask for them to make a move, a good cover for them to
Yeah,
decide something hard. And then because of
yeah.
economic contraction, are you seeing like there could be mass layoffs across the economy? And this is maybe a little bit of a hype job on our part, but would you say it's imperative that if somebody wants to keep their job, if you're AI literate and skilled with these things, it's one of the most important and best things you can possibly learn, because you make yourself inordinately valuable to an
Yeah.
anxious and scared CEO, where you can basically say, at the very least, I'll be more productive. And if not, I could even help train the rest of the team to be more productive. So
Yeah.
what is your thoughts on that?
And yeah, all of that. And it goes beyond just being productive. Like it's the first thing that happens is that people become productive, but the goal is not productivity, because who cares that you can do it fast? Because another human can do it faster, or another human plus a robot can do it faster, or a robot can do it faster. So the first gain is productivity, but it's not the end goal. It's not the whole point. The point is that as you are then getting more familiar with these tools, you will actually start to uncover new ways to get the job done. Like if you work in product and your whole job is to develop products or services, these AI and machine learning tools can be used to help you uncover new ways to get stuff done, new solutions to problems that'll come down the road. It's so much more than just being faster. It's about discovering new ways. So what I tell my clients is that this is a way for you to see around corners almost. Like it's a way for you to anticipate your market. It's a way for you to understand your competitors better. It's a way for you to understand what is selling, what's not selling, who your market is, who your target customers are, and not just to be productive, but to actually become smarter and to uncover new ways of doing things that you would otherwise miss. Like there
Mm.
are a couple of my clients are in the financial planning space, right? And so for them, they have their own financial models that they develop. They have spreadsheets. They do these calculations, and a machine learning model can do all of what they're doing faster and more accurately than a human sitting and crunching numbers. And that's the first gain. But the second gain is now when they start to uncover what their unfair advantage can be compared to other competitors. Like they're discovering new formulas. They're discovering new ways to save for retirement or to invest that other companies probably haven't discovered yet. And it's only because they're in the trenches working with AI and machine learning. So productivity is great, but it's actually a way for you to almost become smarter and to develop new solutions, new products, new services, and solving problems in a different and better way.
100%, that makes sense. And again, it's the same motif as you're consistently saying, is that the AI
Yeah.
can make the spreadsheet faster. And so what does
Yeah.
this do? Well, it makes you step back and realize, damn, I'm not the spreadsheet guy anymore. I'm not like
Yeah.
we aren't a team of spreadsheeters. So what we are is we have to sit there and we actually have to understand that all we really have is our creativity, our ability to think differently and make
Yeah.
decisions. So what makes
Yeah.
us, like, if we can come up with a more creative way to deliver these financial numbers, or maybe a more creative spreadsheet request, whatever it is, or
Yeah.
framework perspective, that's where our value actually comes in. And so it's fascinating that
Yeah.
that's such a difficult thing for somebody to adapt to. It's very, very difficult.
And it's
And
ironic because the greatest threat to your job is also your greatest opportunity.
yeah,
Like the thing that can take away your job is also the thing that can secure your job. Like,
yeah,
it's truly like this is how you know you're in a time in history where it's like a warp speed wormhole jump where you're not just doing things faster, you're just sidestepping things.
yeah.
And so you're in this moment of history that's cataclysmic because all of a sudden two things are true at once. AI can destroy your job and it can also secure your job. Like it's a paradox. It's like what like it doesn't people go that doesn't make any sense. It's ironic, it's a paradox, it's just a plot twist. But that's how you know you're in this liminal space in time and history where you thought things were going this way, but we're taking a sharp left turn.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will fall out the car when you take that sharp left turn. If you're on a bike, you'll fall off. So it's just a matter of getting on the bike again quickly and getting you back into the car and take that turn.
That's it reminds me of something I was saying to someone earlier, and we were talking about the sort of the fact that all dark things come with opportunities. Wherever there's
Yeah.
darkness, there must eventually be light. And you look at the modern age, I again go back to crypto because it's so well known by people. But what was the selling point of crypto? You have this decentralized tool to fight against tyranny. And what was actually going on
Yeah.
is that we saw the rise in the 20th century of the most sophisticated centralized control system ever seen in
Yeah.
human history, which is the financial system. And this is, of course,
Yeah.
attached to the centralized players who are connected to this. And so, of all
Mm.
things, the technological electronic financial system seemed like it was at this critical point where it could have just eaten the world. It was just so super dominant towards the 1990s, you know, that it was like close to
Yeah.
just taking over everything. And right then, at the turn of the millennium, you see this thing pop up, this weird thing pop up, which is this decentralized technology, which all of a sudden
Yeah.
pushes everything in the binary opposite direction. And all you have this like epic sort of battle of the titans and the gods going on, where you have decentralization and its extremity in this. And AI seems very, very similar to that, where you have something that is the most
Yeah.
dehumanizing thing, giving the opportunity for you to
Yes.
discover your humanity, as you keep saying. So these are very, very fascinating themes.
Yeah. And none of that is so like AI can be the big Leviathan, the big monster that consumes everything and controls you and surveils you and enslaves you. It can very easily become that. It doesn't have to be. It's not inevitable. A lot of people think, like with tech and just historically, people have this idea that certain things are inevitable and like there's nothing you can do to change it. And that's not true. Like we're with AI right now, unfortunately, we're on a path toward it being used in bad ways toward people and life and freedom and everything else. It doesn't have to be that way, because as much as it can become that, AI can also be the greatest weapon against the Leviathan, against these monsters of control and surveillance, and against these forces that are trying to enslave us. And because it has potential to become the greatest threat, it also has potential to become the greatest weapon to be used and the greatest potential for freedom that we've ever experienced. None of those, neither path is inevitable. What it comes down to is a choice you make about how you use it and to what extent you use it. And sooner or later, you'll have to make the choice. And if not, it'll be a choice made for you.
There you go. Well, I think that's actually a good note to end on, because it wraps everything we're saying. That like a lot of people are in denial of these tools. It was like probably when gunpowder came out, people were like, you know, this is who needs fireworks, you know, not knowing what was coming around the corner in a couple of centuries. And I think it's important that we learn these things, because like again, the gunpowder analogy is actually very apt, because of course gunpowder gives the advantage of giant armies to build cannons and oppress people, but it also gives the possibility of a single man-at-arm farmer to organize in this like rabble, like the Americans did against the Great British Empire, and put up a very serious fight against much more well-trained people, because you know musket balls, little bullets, they level everything. When you think about it, technology has that leveling effect. So whatever is the case with AI, this is maybe a bit weird if you're inside your marketing company thinking you're about to fight against the titans of the world, but you learning how to use these tools is probably going to have some significant advantage in the future. It's important to realize this is here and to get adapted with it. It could have an existential meaning in the end, and at the very least, it's going to help you keep your job if we see some type of serious recession, which is obviously very pressing as well. So, Sam, any last thoughts?
Just what I've said. You got to use it. You got to learn how to use it, because it can become a great tool for you to do excellent work, to make money, to become free, or it can become a tool that is used against you, and you make that choice.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it here. We'll leave it here today. We just need ChatGPT Steph version to come in here and do the talking. My human brain is slowing down. We'll leave it there. And I do highly recommend you to check out Bionic Marketing, the newsletter. This is where Sam puts all his information and what's going on with him as he goes through his life. He's obviously very busy. He's going to be traveling for the next while. So that's the best place to stay in touch with him, because, you know, whipping out a camera and shooting a YouTube video is an awful lot more hassle than just writing your thoughts. So if you want to get the cutting edge, up to date stuff, pop in there. And Sam has plenty of things rolling in there. And Mr. Sam Woods, thank you very much for your time.
You got it. Thanks.